everybody turned around and looked to where the explosion came from. And all we saw was smoke, and there was just nothing. And then all of a sudden you heard ambulances and police sirens, and tons of cars and motorcycles came by, and cops were running. Everybody was coming towards where the explosion had sounded from. And all of a sudden there was chaos. Everybody around the area started running towards the scene to see exactly what was going on. But the cops had started barricading the site where the explosion had happened, and people were running away from the scene. People were going towards the scene. It was sort of chaotic, and people were coming up to us telling us that they'd seen bodies on the ground, but they weren't really sure what exactly had gone on. It didn't really sound like a bomb. It didn't really look like there was a fire or any sort of debris anywhere, but that's what people who had been close to the site had said was going on.
All right, thank you, Diane. We'll talk with you again in just a minute or two. We're going now to Lyndon Sauls, who has joined me here on the CNN set. Lyndon?
And Andrea, I can tell you that police are moving very quickly to set up a wide cordon of security around the Centennial Park site. I drove in from an area that's called Buckhead in Atlanta, which is about a 20-minute drive north of the city center, and it is becoming very difficult to get into the heart of Atlanta's downtown area where this occurred. Joining us on the telephone right now is Andrew Tosner, who was playing in the band that was on stage when this explosion occurred, Jack Mack and the Heart Attack, if information is serving us correctly. Andrew, what did you see from your vantage point?
It's Andrew Kastner. Let's see. We were just finished playing one song, and we were about to start another one. And out from the stage to my left, about 150 feet in front of us, is the sound booth where they mix the sound from. And just a big explosion. Big. I felt it in my chest. It knocked me back a little bit. Like shrapnel and stuff flew in the air, and
there's been some speculation, Andrew, that this might have been a transformer that exploded.
Let me tell you something. Our sound engineer discovered the bomb. He saw it in a paper bag. It was put in front of the sound stage. He went out. He looked inside it. He saw that it looked like a bomb. They called the police. A couple policemen came up. They cleared there was a lot of people in that sound room. They cleared all the people out of there first, and the people around that area. I don't know how many, but they cleared them out. Then a couple policemen went up and looked inside, and they saw it was a bomb. I don't know much more than that, except that my friend who discovered it saw a flash and dove to the ground. He jumped on that policeman that got hurt to get him down, and then when we were walking out of the park, the policeman took my buddy away to interrogate him to find out what happened.
All right, hold on the line for me, Andrew. I'm just going to update our viewers. We're learning from the Associated Press. They are saying officials are now telling them 4 people have died as a result of this explosion. When you said the paper bag was in front of the sound stage, are you referring to the stage itself or to the mixing tower?
It was the tower where they mix the sound from.
All right, that's a multi-level tower where they have the mixing board as well as a video camera position.
And lights and stuff like that, yeah.
What did your friend describe the appearance of the bomb to be like? How did he know it was a bomb?
All he told me is that it appeared to be a bomb. It was in a paper bag, that it was left in front of the sound stage, and that he did see some kind of flare or flash before it went off that allowed him time to dive to the ground.
All right, we're going to show people a videotape from earlier in this evening. German television captured the moment when the bomb went off. When you heard the sound, all right, actually we're seeing ambulances leaving the immediate area. You're seeing the aftermath as police are trying to maintain a ring of security, get people out of the area, and let ambulances through to pick up the 150 to 200 people estimated to have been injured by this explosion. When you felt the blast initially, Andrew, did you know it was a bomb? Had you been tipped off to it earlier in terms of what you saw happening in front of you?
No, none of the band members knew it was a bomb, but some of the stage crew knew. Apparently, I don't know how long this went on, but they definitely had enough time to clear all the people out of that mixing station.
Did you get a cue to stop playing? I mean, how long between the discovery of that paper bag and any indication that you guys should get the heck out of there?
No, none. We had no indication. No one told us anything. We were all prepared to go into the next song, and before we counted it off, boom, it just went off. And we just stood on stage. No one ran on stage, around the stage. Everybody just stood there in shock. Not, you know, I think it takes a little while for something like that to sink in.
All right, Andrew, because you were front and center, we want to keep you on the line and
Okay.
keep getting some description from you of the events. We're learning some information as we go along, so please excuse me while I interrupt you from time to time.
Okay.
Just to update our viewers, again, the Associated Press is reporting rescue officials are saying 4 people killed by this blast, anywhere between 150 to 200 people injured. Georgia Power has informed CNN that apparently there were no electrical transformers in the area. And that's one of the theories that was being put forth earlier, but we have Andrew Kastner on the line from the band Jack Mack and the Heart Attack, who were performing at the AT&T soundstage. And Andrew, for the benefit of those viewers who may be just joining us late, again, can you describe for us how that bomb was discovered?
Our sound man, the guy that mixes sound and produces our records, I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants me to. He's with the police right now. Saw a paper bag. You didn't see who placed it, but it was put in front of the mixing, what do you call that, tower? The mixing tower, where they mix the sound and control the lights. It was put down in front of that. He went out and he looked in it, and it looked like a bomb, so somebody called the police. They cleared all the people away from that area, and the police came out, and it's just really lucky that it was seen and people were cleared from that tower, because there were quite a few people out there. I have to say one thing about 150 to 200 people. I did stand on stage after the bomb went off, and I looked out to see if I could see injured people, and I don't want to speculate because obviously I left quickly, but I didn't get the feeling that 150 to 200 people were injured. But
well, what were your impressions then as you looked out at the crowd?
Well, I looked out and I didn't really see that many people down, and but if they were down, they might be hard to see too. So, and it was a big explosion.
Yeah, it's difficult to qualify that number, I would imagine, because some people might have suffered some superficial injuries, right. Others perhaps more seriously.
And the other thing is that this mixing station had corrugated metal wrapped around it, and that was all blown out. So I imagine a lot of this corrugated metal was sent out like shrapnel.
Andrew, can you give us a detailed description of just the configuration of this tower? You're mentioning the corrugated metal. This is a multi-level tower which right. contains the sound crew that's doing the mix of the concert. It also contains the lighting board. There are also a couple of video camera positions on top of there. So
yeah, I think it's 4 levels. It's the bottom part's wrapped in corrugated metal, and then it's scaffolding, and it's 4 levels, and the rest of it is like canvas. And on the first level is where they mix the sound. Second level, I think, is where some guests, like VIP seating. Third level is lights, and I think 4th level is video. And in any normal situation, there could be 30 to 40 people in that.
Now, the paper bag that your sound technician was describing, how big was it?
He never said. He never told me. He just said a paper bag.
And did he describe at all the configuration of what he saw inside that bag? What made him so sure it was a bomb?
I don't know. I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't know if he knew exactly. Well, he made it sound to me that he thought it was a bomb.
Did he say how soon after his discovery of it he was able to alert security officials and get police to the scene?
He didn't tell me how long, but, I would imagine it would be at least 3, 4, 5 minutes, because maybe longer, because they had enough time to clear all the people out of those 4 levels, so they have to run up and get all the people out, and enough time to get some policemen over there.
Now, that's an area, Andrew, where there are a number of fast food kiosks, people getting in line to try and get something to eat.
No, there's nothing like that right there.
Well, you have to go over a fence and down a little bit from there.
The street, there's a space, and then there's a fence, and then the street, and then on the other side is where the people were. Right.
Did he say what possessed him to even go and look in that paper bag? Because to any other observer, it might have been just another piece of garbage on the street.
That's and notices everything. I think it's just his personality, and I think there's an angel watching over him.
All right, as we're speaking again, the Associated Press is saying that rescue workers have told them at least 4 people have been killed by this explosion, which occurred about 1:15, 1:20 a.m. Eastern Time in the Centennial Olympic Park, not too far from where we are located at CNN Center and the Omni Complex, near a number of Olympic sporting venues, the Omni, the Georgia Dome, and we're told initially anywhere from 150 to 200 people were injured, but you're saying again that wasn't your perspective from the stage where your group was performing.
I really don't get that feeling, but I don't know. I just don't get that feeling. I looked out and I was looking to see what had happened, and I mean, 150 to 200 people is a lot of bodies, a lot of people. Now, there were quite a few people in front of us while we were performing, so that might have, people might have got hit by that metal.
All right, Andrew Kastner of the group Jack Mack and the Heart Attack, performing on stage at the time of the explosion at the AT&T venue. I'm going to ask you to hold on the line. I'd like to bring in my colleague Judy Woodruff, who is also here in Atlanta for the Olympics.
Yes, that's right, Lyndon. In fact, I was asleep and got a call from my assistant about a little before 2 o'clock this morning about the explosion, and headed over here. I'm staying just about 5 or 6 minutes from CNN Center. But right now, we'd like to bring in CNN's Bonnie Anderson. She is at a site. Bonnie, if you can hear me, you are overlooking Centennial Park. You want to tell us exactly where you are?
We are at Nike Park, which is probably about a block or so from the perimeter. We're overseeing the park. What I'll tell you is, in making my way here just a few moments ago, I did come along the perimeter of the park. The police, as can be expected, and all the security forces in our very high state of alert. They're being very careful and very critical of passes. They're making sure nobody gets in, even those who should be accredited. People who are lining up, some folks who just came down to see what was happening, perhaps people who were in the park, they're in a state of disbelief. As I was walking up here, time and time again, you would hear people say, "I can't believe it, I can't believe it." Now, one thing to remember, this is, here in Atlanta for these games is assembled the largest security force ever assembled in U.S. history in peacetime. We're talking in well of excess of 25,000 people. That includes local, state, and federal police agencies, including the FBI, the Secret Service, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, U.S. Customs patrolling the skies. There's also the largest group of people trained to work with explosives and to detect explosives. Just to give you an idea, there are more bomb-sniffing dogs here than there were in the entire bomb squad in Los Angeles during those Olympics. Here there are 40 dogs or 2,000 people who are trained to detect bombs and explosives of any sort. The problem is they were all aimed primarily at the inner circle, but at the rings here, but also at the venues. At this park, it is open access, no magnetometers, no type of detection devices at all in place at this park, so anybody can come and go with virtually anything on them, Judy.
And Bonnie, tell us again exactly how far you are from where this explosion took place.
I would guess that we're probably in distance about 100 yards, 120 yards.
And from where you are any of the people who passed by you've been able to talk to, are they people who were in the immediate area when it happened?
On my way over here, I did stop and speak with a couple of people who were finally leaving. They said they heard, as everyone else, a very loud explosion. They heard what they thought sounded like glass breaking. Most people, though, say the folks I talked to were too far away, and indeed, when they heard something, ran the other way. One thing that I heard from officers as I was coming in here that they were concerned about is a secondary explosion. This is now standard procedure for security forces. They have to anticipate a second explosion. Quite often, if indeed this is an act of terrorism, and that has not been called yet, so I want to make sure we understand that. But quite often, the security forces say a first bomb is set, then there's a timer on a second one, so that when the police and the security forces gather, the second bomb then goes off, if indeed this is a bomb. So they are taking no chances. They're making sure that the area is clear, and that should this be the case, that there are no further casualties.
All right, CNN's Bonnie Anderson at a site at what is being called Nike Park. as she said, not very far from the location where this explosion took place. Apparently, at this hour, according to eyewitnesses, the device appeared to be very much like a bomb if it was not a bomb. Of course, that's not been confirmed yet, but information is still coming in a very disconnected manner. We are trying here at CNN Center, which is located a very short distance from all this, just a matter of a few short blocks, not even that, to determine exactly what did happen. At this hour, as we've been reporting, the Associated Press is saying that a morgue attendant says that he has been told 4 people were killed, and in addition, the Associated Press is reporting that hundreds of people were injured. Once again, those numbers have not been confirmed by CNN. We are attempting to get that information as quickly as we can. Our colleague Andrea Zinger, who was here on the air at CNN at the time this happened, is with us in another part of the studio right now in Atlanta. And Andrea, you're talking with some people who were very, very close when this happened. Andrea?
Yes, Judy, thanks. One of the first people we heard from after the explosion was Jim Bacon, who's a CNN producer. Jim and his wife, Lisa, were in Centennial Olympic Park just enjoying yourselves, right?
We were just enjoying ourselves watching Jack Mack and the Heart Attack. We just decided to get off the bench we were on and start roaming around a little bit. And then I heard probably the loudest boom I've ever heard in my life. Just a tremendous explosion. What appeared to be paper and shrapnel flying everywhere. Everybody hit the deck, and pandemonium ensued after that.
As you can see here, we're seeing police moving in, and as we heard just a minute ago, there is always concern about a secondary explosion if in fact it is a bomb. We don't know that it's a bomb, but one of the band members, Andrew Kastner, has now told us that his sound man actually discovered a bomb in a paper sack shortly before this explosion happened. Lisa, had you and Jim been down to the park before? I know those of us who live in Atlanta have kind of been both spectators and observers of the Olympics.
That's what's scary. We've been down there almost every night in the same exact spot, right? The first bench in front of the stage. And my brother was with us tonight, and he had been turning around looking at the scaffolding where the lights were for like the light show on the stage. And he was saying, oh, that's where they do the lights. And he had seen people hanging in there. And that is where the explosion or whatever, the bomb went off. And that all like the canvas that was on it was blown off of it. And we started moving up the street. I immediately ran. We had just gotten up from about 20 yards from where that went off.
You were about 20 yards from the explosion.
20 yards from where the explosion went off. I saw a flash of light. They said that they didn't see it. We ducked down and just started running right away. And then we were getting forced immediately. Tons of people started moving in, and they opened up all the gates of the park and started ushering people out. We were trying to kind of get back in to see what happened, saying we're with CNN, we'd like to see what's going on. And these other, I don't know what type of force it was, but wearing berets, just were like, we don't care, everyone out, 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 physically pushing everyone up the street. There were girls like hunched over, just crying, upset. There was a family of like 3 people that were trying to get into like a cop car, it looked like. It seemed as if she was saying, my sister, I don't know if one of her relatives was injured, but all I know is literally 10 seconds before we had gotten up to move on.
Oh, that's why you both are, as you described it to me, in a little bit of shock.
Well, a little bit. I mean, this isn't something we here at CNN, you know, we think we might be immune to the news because we watch it, but we do see it through a television set. And actually being at the scene of something like this, it was scary. For a split second, you're stunned. You just stand there, you try to gather your thoughts and see what's going on. I think the police did the same thing, but probably within 5 to 10 seconds, the police moved in and did what they had to do, which was move everybody out of there.
Now, we did have one report on the wires, on the news wires, that police were actually seen running to that area just seconds before it happened. Did you notice that?
No.
No.
We didn't notice that.
You didn't see any unusual movement?
We were up and walking from that direction. Then I said, oh no, let's turn around and go back in that direction. That's where the better areas are. And we turned around, so we're walking now back toward where the explosion happened, and we didn't see people running in that direction.
Prior to the explosion.
No.
Jim, when you and I were on the phone, you were having a hard time hearing me, and I could hear a lot of commotion and yelling going on in the background. What was happening?
Well, basically what they did is they took everybody that was in the park and they forced them out the exits. And what the police did to ensure that this would happen was they actually physically held barricades and went up the street like a rake, and were pushing everybody up. smushing them, just getting them away at all costs.
And now you had gotten to a payphone?
I'd gotten to a close payphone where I tried to call you. I was immediately kicked out of that payphone. I moved to another one immediately following our conversation. I was hustled out of there very quickly. So.
And like police cars and emergency type vehicles started moving in right away behind the barricades. As soon as they were pushing the people out, they would clear the roads and police cars were moving in. Lots of people were running out saying, I just saw 4 people that were hit with shrapnel, but again, these aren't reliable witnesses, I guess.
If you're just joining us, we would like to sort of sum this up for you again. About 1:20 this morning, an explosion in Centennial Olympic Park, the sort of centerpiece park for the 1996 Summer Games here in Atlanta. It was about 3/4 full of people, we were told by some eyewitnesses. Is that what you would say also?
I'd say so. It wasn't as packed as it was when, say, John Cicada performed a couple nights ago. But there was a good crowd there, and it was happening.
What about children? Had most families taken their children home by that time?
It looked more like a young college-age crowd. As we were being ushered out, we were trying to face the crowd, and there were some older families.
It was a party crowd.
Yeah, but it was mostly younger party, you know, college age, slightly above college age, coming out of the park. Lots of people were stunned trying to get to the phones. They wouldn't let you make a phone call. It was just out, out, out.
Eyewitnesses have said that they thought security did a good job, responded very fast. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. I mean, they moved in there like commandos. They were in there immediately. There were uniformed officers that seemed to be taking charge. They weren't unnecessarily pushing people out of the way. Their main concern was just to get everybody out of there. And we also saw quite a few plainclothes police officers come out of the woodwork, too. Which just goes to show you the extent to which the security force exists here in Atlanta right now. But on the whole, yeah, I would say they did a very good job of getting everybody out of there, considering the magnitude of the event. I mean, this was a huge explosion, and it just kind of reminded me of an M80 firecracker or something blowing off about 2 feet from your head.
Now, Jim, I don't know if you heard them, but we did have some people who were nearby who said, no way it could have been a bomb. It was too small.
I would say it wasn't a huge explosion. I would say if you were about 50 yards away, you might think, was that a special effect or pyrotechnic or something that kind of went slightly awry on the stage? Or, you know, was it some type of, like, fireworks effect?
And smoke, but no fire.
Right.
Smoke, no fire, but like I said, a flash, some type of flash, definitely.
You could feel a mild concussion from the bomb, but you really didn't feel a huge concussion. It wasn't something that knocked you off your feet.
But your ears were affected, definitely. My ears were ringing for a minute probably afterwards as we were still trying to move off. And it was enough that you knew something happened. Like, all of us definitely ducked down and started to try to run.
Lisa, viewers who were with us earlier when I was talking to Jim heard him say that you are pregnant. We hope you're fine. And do you feel fine?
Yeah, I have to tell you, you take on a totally different attitude, though.
Okay. Well, we wish you luck, and we thank you very much for coming in and sharing your experiences with us. Let's go back now to Lyndon Souls.
Andrea, thank you very much. We were hearing descriptions earlier also from Andrew Kastner, who was on the line with us. He was a member of the band performing at the AT&T soundstage there. It was actually their sound technician, their record producer, who discovered the bomb, if it was a bomb, in fact. He described it as looking as though it was a bomb, inside a paper bag, and immediately notified police. We just want to bring you up to date on where we're at, just in case you are joining us late in the event that you've gotten late word on what's happened. About 1:20 a.m. Eastern Time, an explosion in the heart of the Centennial Olympic Park in downtown Atlanta, really the heart of the public venues for people attending the Olympic Games, and even accessible for those who do not have tickets for any of the Olympic sporting events. As you can imagine, with an occurrence like this, there is a lot of conflicting information going around. People very excited, running from the scene, offering varying descriptions of what happened. We were hearing earlier from a morgue attendant who was saying that the Fulton County medical examiner had told him 4 people have been killed by this blast, but then we are getting word from the Fulton County Medical Examiner's office that there are no reports of any casualties, any fatalities at this point. We have checked with Grady Memorial Hospital, which is the closest hospital in terms of proximity to the scene of the explosion. They have treated 25 people for injuries, but they are saying no reports of deaths at this time. Andrew Kastner was on stage when this bomb, or this explosion, occurred, we should say. Andrew, you've heard some of the descriptions from some of our people who were in the area who weren't sure whether it was a pyrotechnic effect going off. You've performed for a long time now. Did that strike you as being on that level? Okay, we're told Andrew is no longer with us. But we are also hearing reports from the Reuters news agency that you heard the description of police basically forming wide cordons with their barricades, almost like a large human rake, trying to get spectators out of the area so emergency crews could respond, ambulances rushing into the scene. You can imagine the size of the traffic jam in the downtown area at that time. People leaving local night spots, the one that you've heard about on CNN over the past week, the House of Blues. A lot of people were letting out from a concert there as well. So just a massive jam of people and vehicles, and the most immediate concern for police to secure the area. This is an area where estimates prior to the opening of the games were saying that some 700,000 people were expected to congregate at various times. A lot of people with their families taking in the free entertainment that was provided in the area. We're going to show you an interview that was taking place earlier with American swimmer Janet Evans just before the explosion occurred. So listen very carefully to the sound and you may be able to hear the blast.
All the time I didn't want to be another person.
And nobody's bothering you, right?
Well...
There you hear the explosion in the background. Maybe we can rewind that tape and play that for you one more time.
They're carrying somebody away right here in front of the AT&T Olympic Village. It's 1:20. There was we don't know where the bomb might have gone off at.
There you see the camera from German television capturing the immediate aftermath of the explosion. We were told by Andrew Kastner of the group Jack Mack and the Heart Attack. They were the group on stage at the AT&T sound stage when the explosion occurred. He said it was their sound engineer, their record producer, who discovered a paper bag immediately in front of what is the audio tower. It's about a 4-level tower where there is a mixing board on one level, there is a lighting board on a second level. There's a seating area for VIP guests above that, and then a video camera position at the very top of that. So it's about, it wouldn't really be 4 stories high, but there are 4 levels to it. It's surrounded at the base by corrugated metal. We've rewound that tape again for you from German television as they were interviewing American swimmer Janet Evans just prior to the explosion going off. So turn up your volume at home and listen very carefully, and you'll be able to hear the sound of the explosion yourself.
I didn't want to be another person.
And nobody's bothering you, right?
Well...
Now you can see there was enough force from that blast to even rock the giant video screen that's located immediately at the rear of that soundstage.
Right here in front of the AT&T Olympic Village. It's 1:20.
There is a grassy area surrounded by benches on either side where people would often come after they've had a bite to eat or even bringing some snacks with them to take in the free entertainment that's been on that stage throughout this Olympic week. And there you see the response from police and other emergency crews trying to get into the heart of that scene. Let's go now to Judy Woodruff.
Lyndon, we're joined now by someone who was there very close by. Victor Ferreira is with the Prince George's County, Maryland Fire Department Bomb Squad. So, Victor, you're someone who is in a position, because of your experience, to recognize something like this. First of all, how far away were you, and tell us what you saw and heard.
I was approximately 100 yards away, and I heard the explosion, and I saw a little bit of smoke and the people running away. So I approached the scene to see what I could do. I could see there were people down out on the street inside the park.
When you say down, what do you mean? Down?
They were injured. That's correct. They were injured. Several different types of injuries, mostly lacerations, punctures.
Were these people moving? I mean, what was the situation? The people helping them?
It was nice in the sense that there were a lot of people there with medical and law enforcement background, the spectators, and I think everybody chipped in to help take care of all the people that were injured out there.
Victor, you told me a moment ago that you believe you saw one fatality. Now, are you certain of that?
From what I saw, yes, ma'am.
What makes you think this was a fatality?
I know I've worked for the fire department. I know what a fatality looks like.
And this was someone who was being carried away?
No.
This was just a person lying on the ground?
Yes.
Did you smell anything in the air, something of a chemical nature? You heard
yes, I've heard. To be honest with you, I don't really want to speculate on that. Yes, I did smell a burning smell of an explosion. It's what it was. It was an explosion.
Yeah.
What it was, I couldn't tell you for sure, but it was an explosion.
All right, tell us a little bit more about the people who were injured. Were they were any of them walking around, moving? Were they all lying prone on the ground?
Everybody was lying on the ground. If they weren't, they were asked to get on the ground. There were some bleeding. There was some severe bleeding from some of the victims, and a bunch of the people that were medical people that were there did a good job with what they had. Obviously no medical equipment, but shirts or what we had there to control the bleeding from some of they were police officers, spectators that were injured. Yes.
Victor, how many people would you say were injured based on what did you get a good look at the whole scene, do you think?
From what I saw maybe 10 injuries.
10 injuries.
Right.
And how soon after the blast were you able to get there?
Well, immediately when the blast occurred, I didn't approach the scene right away, just for safety reasons. When I realized there were people down, people running away, down on the street, then that's when I approached. But I was about 100 yards away when it occurred.
You were about 100 yards away. And did you, from your experience, automatically know that this was a bomb? I mean, there wasn't any doubt in your mind?
I knew it was an explosion, yes. Okay, I know it was an explosion. There's no doubt about that.
What is done in a situation? I mean, clearly the first priority is to get anyone who is hurt or injured treated and out of there to a hospital as quick as possible.
The problem you have also with the amount of people that were there, yes, you have injuries, but you have to look at the other side. Could there be, if it was a bomb, which I don't know if it was or not, but it was an explosion, could there be another explosion? That was a concern of mine, but the chaos that happened at that time, it's hard to relate that to everybody else. Hey, we need to get everybody back. There was a gentleman I was trying to help with an amputated finger. So all of that came into play. But overall, everyone that was there, I just thought did a great job to help out immediately, All
right, so one person had lost a finger, and you said there were lacerations on other people.
Right. There was bleeding from the shrapnel from the explosion that appeared to cause those injuries.
And were there medical personnel there at that point?
They were being called. There were some already there at the park.
Who were there anyway.
Right, but I don't know how many total injuries, but if you have 10, 15, 20 people, 4 or 5 medics aren't going to be able to handle all of that. So, but there were medical people around.
Once again, we're talking with Victor Ferreira, who is from the Prince George's County, Maryland Fire Department, a member of the bomb squad for the fire department there. Victor said he was about 100 yards away when he heard the explosion. He hesitated for a moment to see if there was a second going to be anything to come after that, but then you went over right away. You say you saw what you were certain was one fatality.
That's correct.
And beyond that, you saw, what, about 10 people who were injured?
That's correct.
And Victor, while you were there, were these people adequately taken care of? Were they gotten out of the scene?
Yeah.
How long did you wait?
I think for the most part, we started a triage right away. The police officers were taken out right away that were injured. It was a triage. The priority patients went out right away. It didn't appear to take long at all for the ambulances to get there.
To get in and to get the people into the ambulances.
The police department did a good job getting the crowd back. Of course, everyone was running away anyway, but they did a good job in controlling the crowd.
So some of the injured were wearing police uniforms?
Yes.
Is there any other identifying characteristic that you would use to describe the injured? Or
no, I mean, just severe bleeding. They had to control bleeding. That was probably the main from the shrapnel from the explosion. I saw lacerations all over the bodies of certain people, biceps, legs, arms.
Were these young people? Could you tell?
All ages. I didn't see any kids. Personally, I didn't.
Children.
Right. I did not see any young
How
children.
would you describe the crowd there? We've heard, of course, this was a music concert. The group that Lyndon interviewed the sound technician for just a little while ago, Jack Mack and the Heart Attack, was playing. Presumably most of the crowd was listening to the music when this happened.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Were you part of that crowd? I mean,
I was walking towards.
Listening?
No, I was walking towards the park. I was lucky enough not to be there when it happened exactly, but I was walking towards that direction.
Now you're here, we should say, on vacation. You're here for recreational reasons.
Well,
you weren't
no,
here as part of the bomb squad?
No, I'm not here part of the bomb squad. I'm here to assist with the ACOG, the Olympic Committee, and venue management. That's correct.
All right. Were you on duty at this hour?
No, ma'am. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
All right.
I was not on duty.
All right. Well, Victor Ferreira, we appreciate that, and we thank you very much for coming by and talking to us.
No problem.
At CNN. Lyndon?
The site of the 1996 Centennial Olympic Games. This happened in the heart of the downtown area, the Centennial Olympic Park, which was a showcase for a large number of corporate sponsors for the games. It's directly in front of CNN Center. As you can well imagine, police are at the moment moving everyone out of the area, trying to secure the area. So the pictures that we are able to bring you are coming from both our affiliate established camera positions as well as camera positions we have established around that Centennial Park. What we want to do right now...
On the fourth time, they told us to please step away for our own safety. That was all they said. Myself and my friends walked out, went down to the little Centennial by the Budweiser and Ruby Tuesdays to get a drink. On the way back up, which couldn't have been no more than 15 minutes, we went back in the park to go to the restroom, and while we were back in the park, went through the gate and down beside to go to the restroom, there was no mention of anyone, please evacuate the area. But obviously to me, when they were telling us to back away from the pond area for our own safety, and I know more people had to hear that than me, they knew that something was wrong. By the time we got out of the restroom, walked back out of the park itself, and went to the MARTA station and got in our car, it was exactly 1:09 from the clock on the car. And this, from what the news is saying, happened at 1:15, 1:20. Well, when I was in the park, it was about 12:30, 1:45. They had to have known there was something wrong when they were asking people to move. They did not stress for the people to move. They just asked for us to step back. And I think someone in that park knew there was some danger, and I don't believe it had anything to do with electrical, whatever they're saying now. Someone knew there was a danger because they come over the intercom asking us to please step back.
Well, thank you, Samantha, for calling in. And we can tell our audience that earlier, a television cameraman who works for KNBC, his name is Mark Fields, he said police told him and other news crews to move back from the site of the stage. Associated Press is quoting Fields as saying the cameraman showed a videotape of the bag. The bag had been left under a bench at the base of the lighting tower. That's exactly where the explosion occurred a few moments later. There was a concert going on in the park when the explosion occurred. And earlier, when Byron Pitts was talking to a gentleman who worked for the Swatch Company, 2 of his people were hurt by the explosion, and he told us that there was shrapnel in the bodies, nails. And so we are now hearing over and over again that it was probably a bomb, but although Atlanta police have not confirmed anything yet, and the reason is they're busy on the scene at the very moment. Byron Pitts, are you still standing by?
Monica, I'm still here. You're drowned out a bit by the sound of helicopters that continue to go overhead here to International and William Street. The situation right here now, we can see that one of the entrances to Centennial Park about 4 blocks down the street. Police at this point have set up 2 perimeters, one directly at the gate, another about 2 blocks further out. About 20 law enforcement officers in uniform line the street, keeping people back. At this point, they've also set up a metal barricade to keep pedestrians out. All through the street now, we can see people still wandering around, a number of people telling their accounts of what they saw, what they heard inside Centennial Park when what sounded like an explosion at about 1:15 this morning. Every person we talked to tells a similar tale of an explosion, some panic, people rushing out, many people pausing to check on someone next to them who might have fallen to the ground. We talked to one man who gave an account of seeing one person who had shrapnel, what appeared to him to be serious shrapnel wounds to the upper part of his body. We talked to another gentleman who said there was a light tower inside Centennial Park that looked like it was hit by the explosion and was blackened near the base. There's another woman here who's giving her account. We'll listen to her story.
Yeah, well, what I saw was a piece, it looked like a park bench leg or something, and it was splintered pretty badly. And there were, laying beside it, there were little pieces of wood or metal. They were really black and charred looking, and they were probably quarter size. And the police officers wouldn't let us step on that. They did herald us. I was working on someone, and they made us lift him up on the backboard and get him out of the area, and then they corded that area off. They wouldn't let anybody in that area.
How many were there? Could you please tell me your name again, please? Where
Sure.
you from?
My name is Jennifer Ellis, and I'm from Winter Haven, Florida. I'm a volunteer at the Aquatic Center.
Tell me where you were, what you saw.
I was standing...
How many of the metal parts were there?
There were probably 4 or 5.
Thank you.
I was standing... Okay, I was standing about 150 feet away from wherever it was happened, and as I was standing there was this huge explosion, and the ground just started moving, and everybody started running and screaming, and all you heard was, "Get out of the park, get out of the park." And I started running towards wherever all these people were laying down, and I saw a bunch of people that were laying down. The first lady I came to had a shoulder wound, and I was talking to her nephew, and the next guy that I ran over to help, he was bleeding pretty badly. And when I was kneeling down trying to help him, I was immobilizing him and holding his neck and holding the wound. The police came over, and they said, "What's that, what's that?" And they started to block off the area because they found this huge, it was probably 1.5 feet long of wood that was splintered looking, and it was charred, and they found some smaller pieces of metal or wood or something that were laying beside my knee. They made me move out of the way, and they corded off that area, made us move our guy out of the area, and they corded off that area. They weren't letting anybody in.
Did you have any idea what the device was? Did you get a chance to see any of it?
I didn't see what exactly happened. I smelled some sort of sulfurous smoke afterwards, and with all the talk and everything about the airplane blowing up or whatever, I thought it was a bomb. I mean, it felt like a bomb to me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Again, Monica, her story, another woman inside the park, a woman, I think she said a volunteer from Florida working inside Centennial Park. When she heard the explosion, again, she's another person who says it sounded like a bomb, it felt like a bomb, and looking at the humans whole around her, it seemed like a bomb. Again, at this point, no official confirmation. I'm making my way back up to William Street and International Boulevard, where there's some activity going on at this point. In the past, Monica, since last we spoke...
You're watching ESPN continuous live coverage of the explosion at the Summer Games here in downtown Atlanta at 1:20 Eastern Time. An explosion took place at the AT&T Global Village where a concert was going on. It's located near Centennial Park in the heart of downtown Atlanta, the heart of the Olympics. We're trying to keep you updated and informed as the information comes our way, and we have not been able to confirm what caused the explosion with the Olympic officials. We do know that numerous people have been injured. We're downtown outside the Chamber of Commerce building. We were on the second floor when the explosion took place, and if we can push back, I'll show you that some of the state police are here clearing the area. They have attempted to get everyone out. They have checked people in and around the area. The latest information I have in speaking with one of the authorities here is that the ATF officials, alcohol, tobacco, and firearm officials, are in the AT&T Global Village right now. They have taken over in terms of this investigation at this moment, trying to figure out exactly what caused the explosion. One of the policemen who was in the Global Village at the time told me, as you get a look at, that's the stage where some of the band instruments are taking place. The policeman told me that the explosion came from the platform area, which is located a little bit back from the stage. There was not a fire, there was a quick explosion, there was smoke and debris flying through the air. Right now, helicopters are hovering over. Police are blocking off roadways. They also made it clear that they are continuing to search the area in case there are any other explosives in the area. Chris Myers reporting live for ESPN here in Atlanta. Let's go back now to our studios.
If it turns out to be a bomb, which we now have every reason to believe it is, the question is why? Who did it? Was it connected to any other events going on around the world? They have had some difficulties in the past in the state of Georgia with homegrown militia, people who were building bomb factories in the southern part of the state, several of whom were arrested about 6 months ago. So they've had some experience with that here. I don't know of any other experiences that they've had in Atlanta with pipe bombs in the heart of the city, as I say, but that's what it appears to be tonight, some kind of an explosive device, probably pretty crude. There was a package at the base of the tower that police were suspicious of shortly before the bomb itself went off. President Clinton was awakened early this morning by his Chief of Staff, Leon Panetta. He's been getting periodic updates, but all comment will come from the Justice Department, which now has its hands full on 2 counts, obviously, on 2 fronts, both in New York with Flight 800 and now here in Atlanta at the Olympic Games. Police moving people back, as you can see. We're about to hear from another eyewitness, if we can.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
And the minute the explosion went off, people started running and screaming. The fountain, people were in the fountains and stuff, and they ran screaming. And police and Olympic security and unarmed security and just people in general were hurling everybody out. Get out, get out, they were screaming. And I headed towards where the people were laying, because there were people laying down, and there were little clumps of people. And there weren't enough red shirts. The medical people wear red shirts. There weren't enough red shirts around to help people. So I have first aid training, so I stopped to try to help people. And where I was towards the center of whatever it was exploded, because the police cordoned that area off. They wouldn't let anybody else in, and they found this, it was probably about this long, and it was green, and it looked like a park bench, but it was splintered apart, and there were little pieces of whatever it was that exploded, or the bench or something, laying around in the area.
What is your name?
Jennifer. My name is Jennifer Ellis. I'm from Winter Haven, Florida. I'm a volunteer at the swimming venue.
We're listening to more eyewitness accounts, the action now moving in a matter of speaking out from Centennial Park into the various area hospitals. Let's go now to Grady Memorial Hospital, which is the large public hospital not too far away. Kevin Rosen of WXIA, our NBC affiliate here in Atlanta, is there. Kevin, what do you have for us?
Well, we've watched several victims go into the hospital in the last hour or so. I'd say at least a dozen ambulances went by. Most of the victims that we saw here were, they didn't look like they were hurt too badly, except for one. They were performing life-saving procedures on that person. But that was the only one. All the other ones that we could see in the back of the ambulances looked like they were conscious. Talked to a couple of family victims who have come to the hospital to try and see their family members. In fact, one man from nearby in Alpharetta, Georgia here, he was with his wife at the concert. She left to apparently go to the ladies' room, and that was the last he saw of her. He was at the hospital. He's been going from hospital to hospital trying to find out exactly where his wife is and has not found her yet. But so far, we have no word from the hospital as to the extent of injuries of the victims that came here. Again, there were probably about a dozen that we have seen since we have been here shortly after the incident happened. Tom?
I ask you to stand by at Grady Memorial Hospital because you'll be seeing a lot of ambulances arriving there. We want to show you now some pretty remarkable videotape. German television was interviewing Janet Evans, the well-known American swimmer, at the time of the explosion right in the area. Let's take a look at that tape now.
She has so many people bothering her all the time. I didn't want to be another person.
And nobody's bothering you, right?
Well,
get out there. Get out there. You got it going?
That's a pretty stunning example of just exactly what happened. That is a videotape account taken by German television. They were interviewing Janet Evans. You could see that she got out of there very swiftly. The rock concert was going on in the background. We're going to take one more look at it right now. Janet Evans being interviewed by German television.
That the FBI has said that the explosion was caused by some sort of device. And in fact, if that is the case, that has to send a chill through the ACOG security people, again, Atlanta Committee of the Olympic Games security people, because they have been taking unprecedented security precautions in these games to ensure that something like this didn't happen. And that includes 30,000 police officers, National Guardsmen, security officials on the streets It includes blimps and helicopters from the Air National Guard and the Atlanta Police overhead. It includes security cameras mounted on top of buildings outside of sensitive areas like the main press center, the Athletes Village, security cameras that are mounted on electrical poles, all overseeing these venues. And it is possible, and I stress only possible in theory, that if somebody were to have planted a device in that very public area, that perhaps it was caught on camera. We don't know the extent of the surveillance in that immediate area, but it is possible that something like that was caught on camera. Being in Atlanta during these Olympic Games, you don't know when a camera is looking at you and when it's not. We were standing on a street corner and we looked up, and right above us there was some surveillance equipment. So again, don't know what the extent of surveillance was in that immediate area, but possible, stress possible, that if somebody planted a device, it might be something that was caught on camera. Unconfirmed reports of a hole blown into the side of the Swatch building. Swatch is the company that has provided all the timing devices for the Centennial Olympics. They have a large pavilion which is immediately behind the sound tower. These are unconfirmed reports, but we have also seen some videotape that indicate that there was an explosion that occurred somewhere near the front of that tower, and that there was minimal damage observed in the pictures of that tower. Also unconfirmed reports from eyewitnesses that an explosive device may have, or not an explosive device, I'm sorry, but that a suspicious package may have been seen placed underneath a park bench near that tower, or near or in a garbage can in that area. About 10,700 athletes here to participate in these Centennial Games, housed mostly in the Olympic Village at Georgia Tech University, which really is Fort Sport, and we do not use that term lightly. It virtually is a fortress, a barricade. To get inside there, you need to have special passes. You also would have to have your personal belongings checked. If you tried to go through with a vehicle, you actually go up on something that's almost akin to a device that a mechanic would use to change oil, that lifts the car off the ground. Inspectors from the National Guard look at the vehicle, up and down in the trunk, underneath. Sometimes they crawl right underneath the vehicle just to make sure that nothing of any large nature is being brought inside. In the space of 5 minutes being down here at this corner, which is the corner where on the left-hand side you have the Coke Olympic City, on the right-hand side you have the Centennial Park, and just off catty corner to that you have the main press building. Just in the space of 5 minutes we saw people from the Atlanta City Police, we saw county officials, we saw people from the ATF who have been stationed here just in the event that something like this should go off, as well as members of the FBI, their SWAT team also on standby, and their hostage rescue team on standby. No word.
What we're hearing, Antonio, is that there are conflicting reports. The FBI has apparently sent out word that they believe it was an explosive device. That's being conflicted with the city officials, who say they haven't heard that yet. Morgue officials are saying there may be as many as 4 dead. Others are saying no, that it's only 1. Antonio, I can give you a little bit of perspective on the security. Centennial Park is the place you can go if you don't have a ticket to go anywhere else. It's the free area. It's where you can just sort of enjoy the free concerts, and you can move in and out of there quickly. At other venues, Antonio, you've got to be able to show a ticket, then you have to go through magnetometers. The security's very heavy. At Centennial Park, Antonio, all you have to do is show up. Now, there's 30,000 security officials circulating all around. People are on the lookout for suspicious bags. But Centennial Park, if you're going to, if one area was vulnerable, that was it.
We're receiving reports here that 1 person has been confirmed killed and 38 people injured in Atlanta as a result of this explosion, but there are still reports from the fire department that as many as 200 people were injured, despite efforts from police to evacuate. Can Mike Von Fremd hear me? Mike? Apparently Mike can't hear me. Mike, do you know what actually is going on downtown? Have they been able to evacuate the area now?
Well, yes, they're able to try and get people out. The problem is, Antonio, that there's an awful lot of nightlife going on, and Atlanta received permission for their nightclubs and bars to stay open until 4 a.m. That's another 30 minutes. And nearby Centennial Park, James Brown, the father of soul, was holding an enormous concert. So this city is all partying downtown, and the House of Blues, where James Brown was playing at, was full of people, and those people are just leaving. The hotels are just a short. You can walk from most of the downtown hotels to Centennial Park in about 2 or 3 minutes. So you're talking about downtown Atlanta that is absolutely full of people. There's millions of people in town, journalists, and you've got 15,000 journalists who very aggressively want to cover the story. They're all staying in that immediate area, and they want to talk to as many eyewitnesses as they can. So to try and keep order down there is about as tall a task as you can imagine.
So switch over to Judy Muller, who's on the scene to see what's going on there. Judy?
Yeah, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms people are here, ATF, and they have brought in a large truck. I saw some of their agents who were looking best moving down the street.
Fears and anxieties, and tell them what happened.
Well, first, of course, I think it's important to get accurate information about the fatalities and those that are injured, because that certainly is incendiary with some of the earlier reports. What we're able to do now is simply try to assess what happened, what caused the explosion, and then make the necessary recommendations from there. I assume it would be within, I actually could not speculate, because the force is going onto the scene as we speak, and I assume they will be able to make some determination fairly shortly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Are federal authorities now in charge of this investigation, by the way?
That's correct.
All right. Well, as soon as you hear any more, can we hear back from you again? Because
yes, I'll be certain that we get back to you as quickly as possible.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I know this is going to be a long night for you, and we're eager to hear whatever accurate information that we can get as swiftly as you have it.
Thank you very much, Tom.
We'll let you get about the business. Mayor Bill Campbell of Atlanta, who is so proud of the city and worked so hard to secure the area, along with the governor of the state of Georgia, Zell Miller. Billy Payne, of course, was the Olympic organizer, and former Mayor Andy Young and former Mayor Maynard Jackson. All the people in this community, there was a biracial coalition that involved people from the ground up to the very heights of southeastern business empires, who were proud of the fact that they brought the Olympic Games, the 100th anniversary, to the city of Atlanta. Security was always a consideration for them. It was only heightened after Flight 800 and by the visit of President Clinton during the course of this past week. There have been very stringent requirements for getting in and out of the various Olympic venues where the events are held, but here in Centennial Park, people were free to come and go as they please and to carry in and out of there whatever they happen to have, backpacks or shopping bags or whatever. And tonight there was some kind of an explosion. The mayor is understandably reluctant to say what it was, because he says it has not been determined. We have from other authorities, however, reports that it was an explosive device. And one of our own cameramen, Max Schindler from NBC, talked earlier with NBC Sports' Jim Gray about what happened to him when he was on that tower. Here's that interview.
That's right, Tom. I'm here with Max Schindler. He is an NBC employee, and he was on the tower just a few yards away from where this exploded. And you have some new information. They asked you to get off the tower because there was a bomb scare?
We were shooting the concert from the tower, and about 2 minutes before the tower exploded, they came up and asked us to leave because there was a bomb scare.
Who is they?
Security guy. It looked like one of the AT&T security people from the AT&T pavilion where the concerts occur in the park.
And so you went ahead and got off the tower?
Yeah, they run the tower and they run the security on the tower. So we went ahead and pulled our cable from our camera. We were on live and came down off the tower, and we were walking across the park about maybe 100 yards from the tower when we heard the explosion. At that time we ran back, plugged our camera back into another live cable drop, and started shooting the tapes up in your truck. I just took it up there a few moments ago.
And what went on from there? What did you shoot? What did you see?
It was pandemonium. There were people on the ground. I saw at least maybe 4 or 5 people on the ground hurt, with other people who were in the park attending to them. I saw the lower left-hand side of the mixing tower. It's a light and sound mixing tower for the concert stage. The lower left-hand side was blown out, and there was smoke and a lot of pandemonium.
You've been up there how many days?
We've been up there for almost a week and a half, I guess, since the beginning of the ceremonies.
Has anybody come by and ever said anything like this to you? Any security?
No,
Has there been any other kind of threat or scare?
The security there is pretty tight. I mean, you have to have the right credentials to get on the tower or to get in that area, because that's an area where there's cabling for a lot of the stations and the network. So you have to have security to get in there, but it is sometimes you can walk in without too much without being checked.
Where is this tower in proximity to this Swatch building that we see behind us? We had another eyewitness that said...
Swatch building, and we heard there might be another bomb in the park, and we were asked to leave. As a matter of fact, we continued shooting live there for a while until we were forced out of the park.
Now, I'm told by some folks and some officials that the police used tear gas to get people out of the park. Is that accurate?
I didn't witness that. The police did force us to leave and told us we'd be arrested if we continued to shoot. So at that point, we left.
You said you saw 4 or 5 people injured. Were there massive people more who could have been injured, who were injured?
I didn't see more than 4 or 5, and you know, I haven't even looked at the tape that I shot yet, so you can see some of it on there, but it didn't look like massive numbers. But